So I'm going to invite a couple people on stage after that to talk a little bit more about the power of storytelling and bringing more awareness to these initiatives. So joining me on stage, Jordan Maltby, CEO of Shadow Magic Studios and BeamTransfer.io, which is an amazing advancement in camera to cloud, and Kent Blazel, who's co-founder of the Digital Sustainability Alliance. I'm going to allow them to share their stories, and then we'll open it up to questions from you guys.
I don't know. Are we getting a third?
All right. Light switch.
Light switch. Does this work?
Yeah.
Does it work? All right. All right. Thank you guys for joining me today. Those were some great videos, right?
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So, Jordan, I'd like to start with you. Tell me a little bit about Shadow Magic and why you were inspired to come here, really to talk about the power of storytelling.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a career feature film editor that could have easily gone down the path of being an assistant editor on bigger, studio films. And where my heart truly was being in the trenches with people who are trying to share a part of who they are with the world and tell their stories. The people who are like, I mortgaged my house to tell my story. Like, I want to be in that world. And, that's what Shadow Magic Studios was created to do. It has three facets. One, it's a full, script to screen production company that ironically started out of post-production. So we started by solving a problem of the technical, sort of procedural workflow barriers that would normally go into independent films. Everything from dailies to archival to, VFX polls and conform and stuff like that. But we took it a little bit differently because I was also an editor and trying to make my own way in the business. So it was created rather than a formal brick and mortar facility. We actually use remote rigs, remote operators, and cloud technology. So it was built to be completely remote. So, a typical workflow is that we would have our box called the Magic Box that would ship to a production office, and a DIT or a PA would drop off a shuttle drive and leave it by itself. And then we would remote into the box and do all of the lab work on site and then archive everything to the cloud. And then once everything was in the cloud, we had an entire lab infrastructure that we could build with cloud technology. So all of our operators could be remote. They could work part-time, and we could pass that savings onto the film. So we like to say that the money can go on the screen instead of to a fridge full of LaCroix. And so we start with these technical processes that aid where independent films really eat their money first. Because, if in these technical processes where if you mess up the dailies and then suddenly 6 months later you go to do your DI and all the metadata is wrong, it's like now you have a $20,000 conform bill, which that film probably couldn't have afforded in the first place. So we've since expanded from this lab infrastructure, and now we have a full post-production supervisor as a service. We call it post-management. And then in addition to that, we have this full script-to-screen production company that does everything from branded content of large, even we did an ad for Space Force, big military stuff. And then we've also done, and we develop and produce, major independent films from, I'd say, usually about 1 to 30 million. And when our powers combine, we are Captain Planet. we have it's more than the sum of its parts, because we're able to fill the gaps of the transition handoffs. And that's where almost all of the workflow problems go sour, where there's a responsibility on set, it gets passed off to someone else, everyone else goes on to new jobs, and then there's a problem. Who takes responsibility for it? No one. It's a fix-it, it's a Band-Aid, it's a fix-it, it's a Band-Aid, and then it keeps getting passed down. And then ultimately, these filmmakers who are trying desperately to tell their stories and share a part of who they are with the world just get, hammered. And suddenly they can't get all the visual effect shots they want. They have to cut corners, and they have to do this. So when we come in together, we have this sort of holistic approach that allows us to streamline that process. And I'll just be very brief here and just say, our ethos has always been trying to inspire and empower independent filmmakers to tell their stories. It's what gets us up in the morning. It's what makes us excited. And we did a film in Kuwait where it's 2/3 in Arabic, 1/3 in English. And, I'm a white Jew from New York, and I was the editor on it. And it was very, very important to the filmmaker to show this region in a positive light. And I felt a huge level of responsibility, to do that. And it was so much fun. The film itself was, it was littered with problems. It took almost, 3 or 4 years to make. It lost funding, had to get finishing funds, whatever. And that's the part of the process where you always feel like, oh my God, why am I in this industry in the first place? But then, you premiere the film, and right after the premiere, 3 kids came up to me in Kuwait and said, I've always been interested in film. I've always wanted to do film, but I never thought it was a possibility for me. And now you've shown me that I can do this in my country, and I want to go to film school, and you've inspired me. And I'm like, well, now it's all worth it.
That's awesome. And that just shows, the power of Telly Awards too, being able to bring light to incredible stories within the films, and the power of what that does when you're able to share them with the rest of the world. So Ken, tell us a little bit about the digital sustainability, and what you're doing here with NAB in order to forward that message with storytelling.
Great. Yeah, thank you. So first of all, it's really a pleasure to be here. We want to thank the Telly Awards for inviting the Digital Sustainability Alliance to come and be part of this. I was really inspired by some of those pieces, and even the one that said, I'm not here to be inspired, but to win. I was inspired by the storytelling. And we can communicate in society so powerfully through the arts that we can't in any other way. But the challenge that we have living in this digital world is that it's not green tech. Right? Just because there's not a tailpipe sticking out of my iPhone or my laptop or these screens here doesn't mean that they don't pollute. Because every single time you plug them into an electric grid, that grid is mostly powered by fossil fuels. Now, so the Digital Sustainability Alliance, it launched at NAB New York last fall with 2 missions. One is to raise the awareness of digital sustainability, and then to raise awareness of the things that we can do today to address this issue. So I'd like to just talk about a couple of stats. So first of all, 90% of the world's data was created in the last 2 years. 90%. That's a staggering number. Today, storing digital data accounts for 2x the carbon and energy of the entire global airline industry. Most folks don't know this. These are staggering stats. And the Wall Street Journal just did a great article this month saying that data center energy and AI alone is going to double by 2026. So if we're already 2x this digital industry of what the global airline industry is, and by a year and a half from now, we're going to double that. And AI is just getting started, folks. Now, AI is going to be very important in the entertainment industry. It's going to be very important in solving problems like sustainability. But we have to put all the cards on the table, and we have to have a holistic view of what the data really is. We have to drop the dogma. We have to drop the agenda and just say, we're here to understand truth. So I was at the Apple store the other day, and I loved a quote that I saw. It was, Socrates is my friend, Plato is my friend, but my best friend is truth. So the Digital Sustainability Alliance is an apolitical organization. We're not lobbyists. We just want to promote awareness of the industry. And it was founded by 3 key innovators in this space, Storj, AdSignal, which does distributed GPUs, and then AdSignal, which cleans up all the redundant copies of data that we're all storing. So if I could just go another minute here. So AdSignal technology, for example, BBC might have 127 versions of Dad's Army. And they're storing all these different copies when they could really just store the unique bits. So they might have all these versions. One copy is edited for the Middle East. Another one has Japanese, the other one French, but the video is the same and it's being stored over and over and over again. Well, that's a cost and carbon story. AdSignal can reduce the amount of carbon and your cost associated with that by 80% empirically. There's case studies for that. At Storj, you store data on gear that's unused but already existed. So another stat, 60% of the carbon associated with creating a hard drive is in the mining of the materials, in the manufacturing of those parts, and then in the transportation that gets shipped, all these parts around to become assembled. Then they get shipped to data centers. It's a very, very inefficient process. And the mining of those materials, which this industry, I hope, starts to talk about, oftentimes happens by forced labor and by child labor. We don't want to look at ourselves in the mirror because we all use these devices. But the reality is there's like blood money out there. And there's another sustainable issue, which is that we don't even know if we can keep up with where data is going. IDC and others are saying we might not be able to manufacture enough hardware to keep up with where data growth is going. So with Storj, it's fantastic that Storj uses stuff that already exists that's underutilized. Being better stewards of the existing resources that we have is a far better way. Because again, data is going to grow. There's no stopping it, and it should. We're all going to consume content like this, as we should, because we can learn a lot from the film industry. But we have to be more responsible about the existing resources. And these three companies are just the founding members. It's going to be a big tent, and we welcome people to go to digitalsustainabilityalliance.org. And we welcome the M&E industry, especially because 80% of the data, last stat here, 80% of the data being created is going to be video. So this industry especially has a responsibility to get in front of this issue. Thank you.
Awesome. So it sounds to me from your answer, Kent, that we really need more storytelling and awareness around what's really hurting our planet around data and data storage, right? It's not just about, hey, we support data centers in switching to renewable energy sources, but if the servers that are in those data centers are really the dirty part of data, right? The mining of those rare materials, the shipping back and forth to manufacturing facilities, as you mentioned, all the other unpleasant parts of what's going on in the manufacturing of those hard drives. That's where the story really needs to be told, I think.
Yeah, we welcome filmmakers like Jordan and all the others. I mean, these were just terrific pieces. It just becomes, we should start by raising awareness, looking the facts, and there's far too much shaming going on in this industry. Far too much shaming. The left, the right, shaming, and dogma, etc. We need to come together. We're all part of this. I mean, is there anybody that doesn't want cleaner water, that doesn't want cleaner air? Is there anybody in this society that there's a DEI component too? So I applaud Storj's efforts there. Is there anybody that doesn't want everybody to be able to participate in this digital economy from all different walks of life, to be more inclusive, to be more fair, to have access to that, to be diverse? Everyone needs to participate in this. And so, the sustainability stuff is about supply. It's about cost. It's about fairness. It's not just about carbon.
Awesome. So I heard a rumor that 2 of the 3 founding members of the Digital Sustainability Alliance have now won the NAB Product of the Year 2 years in a row.
Yeah, it's very exciting. So Storj did last year, and then AdSignal did just last night. So
that's awesome.
Valdi next year then. But we hope to be a very big tent by the time we come around next year.
Yeah, so you heard it here. Join the DSA and you could win the NAB Product of the Year award.
We don't guarantee that.
All right. We would like to open it up to questions from the audience. If anyone would like to ask Jordan about Shadow Magic and what he does, about to Kent, the Digital Sustainability Alliance, I'm happy to answer questions about DE&I initiatives that we have at Storj, as well as the Telly Awards. So, question.
I was in a rock band for 10 years, so my hearing's shot, so please.
Sure. No problem. Thank you very much. I was just curious. I'd like to hear more about the diversity, equity, and inclusion piece. What does that mean? I've heard you use it before, and what does that look like? And can you explain a little bit more? Thank you.
Yep. So I can answer that one. So we founded, Storj founded the, diversity, equity, inclusion, initiatives. We call it the Storj Institute, which is driving diversity, equity, and inclusion within the tech industry. And a lot of what that is, some of it's awareness, but a lot of it's best practices that we've applied at our company that we're then sharing out with everybody else. So one of the really cool things that our company does is it has a hiring practice that is like double blinded and makes sure there's no bias. It ensures that we're getting candidates in that are an accurate representation of, the diversity in our world, which is not necessarily the representation of, folks in a tech company. And certainly we make sure that we're giving people an opportunity, and the best candidates are of course chosen, but it's a welcoming environment. It's one that we're really seeing a drastic change. I would ask anybody from Storj. It's an amazing culture because of our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. So we share all the information about how we set that up and how we do that. We attend, there's a lot of kind of cutting edge Web3 type of, stuff that we do to really try and help push the education in that space to bring more people, more representative of, our world to have that equity in technology.
Yeah, I could add one other thing. So we're talking about this distributed tech revolution that's going on now, right? So the hyperscalers out there own just a massive part of the internet, right? There's like 5 companies that are dominating this. And, the only difference between some of these, hyperscalers and what a company might have in its own environment is it's just an OpEx model. The architecture is the same. I mean, it's leasing out someone else's data center. But there's this Web3 revolution that's going on there too. That's more inclusive. It's about distributed resources, not just distributed tech, but Storj pays folks who offer up their servers that are unused onto the network, and they participate in this economy, not just in reducing the amount of carbon there by using resources, but now the whole globe can participate in this. And there's this whole distributed future where there's shared resources, democratization of resources, and it's really about power to the people, right? Enabling folks to do things that they couldn't do before. And I'd love to have Jordan talk a little bit more about that as a filmmaker.
Yeah, sure. I obviously can't speak to the hiring processes at Storj, but
no, just about this distributed future.
Yeah, but I mean, one thing that I can say is just with regard to the industry in general, and this is most people have in their pocket more cinematic tools than any filmmaker in the 70s that you've ever admired. Like with regard to like sharing stories and hearing each other's stories, like this is how we learn from each other. This is how we bridge gaps and bridge cultures. This is how we communicate and grow. And so if you're a filmmaker and you want to, be able to do this, not only do you have the power, but we're all waiting for you. It's an exciting time. With regard to for being transferred? Sure. So there is this revolution that's happening right now with the cloud technology, where we're moving from the sort of old school, sort of like region-based hyperscale model to a more distributed model. And this is offering up a lot of new opportunities where, the way Storj operates, for example, is it almost finally fulfills the promise of what everyone normally thinks of as the cloud. Like, I uploaded it to the ether of everywhere. The truth of the matter is that the way cloud works is there are data centers and regions, and when you upload it, it goes to a specific place. And, you can only go as fast as the speed of light when you try to pull something that's far away from it. With Storj, when you upload a file, when we do our archive, it uploads and then scatters those files into segments and scatters them through over 20,000 points of presence across the globe, which means that ostensibly your files are local no matter where you are. So if you upload them in Japan and then download them in New York, it is as almost like a CDN. It is as close to you as it could possibly be. So we've actually launched a new file transfer product that we call Beam Transfer that sits on top of the Storj network. And just to tell a little bit about the power that's unleashed by this distributed model is within 2.5 months of development with 2 developers, we are able to compete speed-wise with the next 3 biggest competitors. We're able to get 10 gigabit bidirectional speeds globally, tested through Japan, the UK, all across the US, and in Central Europe, and in Australia as well. And this is really incredible because the Storj distributed network is taking on all of the architectural load that you would normally have to hire a whole IT department in order to orchestrate. You don't have to figure out the locality. You don't have to cloud-to-cloud transfer to the nearest edge node. You don't have to add in file transfer acceleration. You don't have to do any of this because the Storj endpoint is one global endpoint for the whole world. And so if you're a company like us, either building applications upon it or providing services to film and television, the simplicity that we're able to deploy and provide, allows us to not just cut costs to our filmmakers and have them put more money on the screen, but it allows us to build new application layers. You can almost think of Storj as a platform. So we're able to, today have things like a whole new camera to cloud, easy to use application layer that is just in its infancy. We haven't even performance tuned it yet, and we're already getting 10 gig bidirectional globally. And that's all on single file transfers. Once we do concurrent multi transfers, we'll be able to get theoretical up to almost 100 gig. And
thanks, Jordan.
We're
having
started.
It's gonna bring the great storytelling to the world a lot faster. So that's exciting. We got a question here from the back.
Hi, thank you. This is my first time at NAB, and this is my first time hearing about Storj, and it just wowed me. It's incredible. And what I do, I have a photography and beauty studio here in Las Vegas locally. I mentor youth now that actually want to get into filmmaking. So my question is, youth is our future. So I want to know, are you guys going to be, or is there a way you can help me or we can help each other to help the younger generation understand what this is? Because I believe that can help with diversity, inclusion, especially in our communities. I come from, I'm Mexican American, first generation, so the Chicano community, east side of Las Vegas. You guys are welcome to come. But I just want to be able to, empower and help and spread the word.
Yeah, we love making connections with people like you, and you can absolutely reach out to me after this. But let me get back to the camera here.
Yeah.
So we absolutely, through the Storj Institute, want to drive awareness and just get involvement from underrepresented communities into the tech industry. There shouldn't be barriers. So we definitely will are open to those things. And even as Jordan said, the technology itself is open source. So we're completely transparent, allowing people to advance things, in media and entertainment space and other spaces as well, to really make this, a different future for us. Cause data can do so much good in this world. But we need to have the right people with that creativity and diversity coming together to find more ways to avoid the carbon emissions that are the dirty side of data. So we're really excited to continue there.
Yeah, one thing I can say to that is that, so like to get into Storj and to get into distributed computing and how this can affect education in the youth and stuff like that, Storj has provided an architecture that all sorts of creative developers can build upon. So as we continue to see the creativity, not just of filmmakers, but also the developers who will make cool things that sit on top of it, they'll be able to do that at a price and at a level of architectural complexity that they can offer new goods and services to exactly those people. And not to toot my own horn, but beam transfer is a really good example of this, because let's just say you are an independent filmmaker making, or a student, or you're a educational institution, and you're teaching kids how to make short films, right? We can already offer, for very minimal cost, a camera to cloud workflow where we can show them how you're downloading the camera cards to the DIT station with a simple drop zone, uploading them to a Storj cloud, and then being able to distribute those assets to visual effects or anything like that. It's the beginnings of exactly what you would do on a major motion picture. So yeah, the barriers to entry are only as limited as the creativity as the people who are building the tools. So yeah, absolutely. It's an exciting time, and we're heavily invested in education because everyone who has ever made it anywhere in the film industry has done so with help. And we're all on the same team.
Can I say one more thing with DSA related? So we're pleased to be partnering with MTSS now. We just recently joined them just this week. And we want to, this whole distributed future is not just about tech. It's about distributed people, distributed resources. It's about partnering together, right? And so when we talk about wanting to support initiatives that's power back to the people, one of those things, whether it's M&E or with DSA, we're focused on digital sustainability across healthcare, banking, et cetera. But MTSS got this started, I think they're a couple of years ago. And they're already doing great work to raise awareness about sustainability within the M&E industry. So I would just encourage other folks out there to say that the worst thing that could happen is that your voice is not heard. Network with other folks who are like-minded. Find other people who can help you out. You're talking about filmmaking. It's always a collaborative effort.
Grab an iPhone, get in the barn, and put on a show.
Right. And so it's the distributed future is about technology. It's about shared resources, shared ideas. And I want to mention one other, and one of the things that we're focused on, of course, is the sustainable part of all this. I talked earlier about that there's so much shaming that goes on today. And in our political environment, I know everyone's sick and tired of it. We want to be able to come together. We want to be able to align together with mutual respect, that we can disagree with each other about stuff and still go out and get a cup of coffee together. Well, sustainability is one of those topics that we all have to come together with different viewpoints, right? I could be wrong about 20% of what I say, or I could disagree with someone about 30% of what they're saying, but we still can agree on principles of doing something about it. So just to give you an idea of how we're all hypocrites when it comes to this issue, I consume a lot of M&E. I'm in this business. I do look at social media from time to time. I'll upload videos. I'll do the same things that we're all doing. And if someone wants to do something about the sustainability issue, you could say, all right, I'm going to eat meat, once a week, and that'll help reduce how much carbon I'm producing. I could ride my bike to work every day in a 10-kilometer ride instead of taking my car. That's going to reduce so much of that too. I could carry my water bottle around, and so I'm filling up water, and then I'm doing my part there by not having so much plastic be produced. But then I upload a 30-second video onto Instagram, and I've wiped all of that out, right? So again, we're trying to promote awareness. When people know the facts, then they can come together. But we have to solve this collaboratively and create art collaboratively, address sustainability collaboratively, and we welcome your voice and everyone else's voice to participate. Thank you.
Thank you to both of you. We're at the end of our time here, but certainly I hope you've been inspired today. We will take questions out here off to the side. Afterwards will be available, but certainly we're excited to see what comes out of the Telly Awards this year. So definitely submit your entries. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.